we good. We in business. It's on that weirdo freeze stuff, but we better. I don't know what's going on. And I checked my sound and everything before we got started. And I don't want to monitor myself. Like I said, sound was crazy. Then when I got the sound to work, it was some music playing that I don't even know where it was playing from. I couldn't even find it to cut it off. So I just had to restart the whole unit so we can get this party started. But I am so glad to be with you all this week. Hope you've been having a fantastic week so far. And we're only one more day away from Friday. Woo, 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 woo. So I said I wanted to start doing some Reiki again. Universe had offered me a reprieve, so I wasn't doing as much as I took a little more energy to focus on myself. But last couple of weeks I had a couple of opportunities, and I have a potential one for this weekend. Yeah, I have a potential one for this weekend. Let me get my. We need to. It's been a beautiful. What? I don't know. Yeah. Let me stay focused because I'm back. Yeah, I had to get the sound together, and this weekend instead of going to the gym show, or it depends. I don't know. And then a couple of my babies, my plant babies, need some love. I've been talking about them being in the same dirt. I got a plant brother in here who getting dark. So we're gonna spend a little time with the plant babies. For sure, either way, I'm gonna do something with them. I gotta touch bases with one of the soul family, decide about the gym show. Still look dark, doesn't it? Give me a second. I feel like I gotta adjust my camera. Here I go again. Listen, one of my favorite rap groups of all time will always be Mobb Deep. What's that on my butt? And I was listening to them before we got started, so I keep singing that song. Win or lose, here I go again. Rather I win or lose. This is my jumps. So, because losing ain't an option, girl. My destiny is to be on top of the world. Top of the world. Yeah, I have an interesting taste for affirmational music. I think it was just the quality of my phone, so I had to change the lighting that much. But enough about that. Something else I want to talk about. One of my friends, one of the soul family. Shout out to you. Yeah, I see that. And it didn't do that buffering last. I don't know, man. Listen, I don't know what. I know what it is. It's this goddamn camera. But I paid so much money for that camera. Listen, I paid $200 for this goddamn camera that we using. But I told you they got this AI program that's supposed to adjust, and it's funny because I don't even use the AI cameraman, but it runs if you use the highest quality of this camera. And when you use that other system, it just be overloading your computer weirdly. Yeah. So lo siento. Hopefully, it won't be too bad tonight. But I do want to shout out one of my. I'm going to actually read it to you all too. So we talked about it. One of my favorite poems. We all know it's not my favorite poem. It is one of my favorite poems. It's definitely one that I talk to everybody about pain. But it's in the book, The Prophet, by Khalil Gibran. And one of my friends, one of the Soul family, had it. And it looks as though they probably stole it from the library, but I got a couple of the library. The one of us was alive when this book was getting shared or passed around. I wasn't alive, she wasn't alive. I'm older than her, and I wasn't even a thought in '67. So she was less than a thought at that point. But I appreciate it. But one of my whenever I have someone dealing with pain, as a matter of fact, I think I'm going to send this to one of my clients. They wound up having experiencing a put pain in a realistic perspective, in the sense that we are emotional beings, and being that means we will emotionally experience the highs and the lows. So I think this is a great interpretation of one of the lows and pain. It says, a woman spoke, saying, "Tell us of pain." And he said, "Your pain is the breaking," as a matter of fact, with it. "Your pain is the breaking of the shell that encloses your understanding. Even as the stone of the fruit must break, that the, oh, what's going on? I can't even see. That the heart may stand in the sun, so you must know pain. And could you keep your heart, and you would watch with serenity through the winters of your grief. Much of your pain is self chosen. It is the bitter potion by which the physician within you heals your sick self. Therefore, trust the physician and drink his remedy in silence and tranquility." So understand, we're going to get into the element for that is thought. And we were doing, baby, I deserve statements. I don't know, I'm feeling a little singy today. Baby, I deserve. Baby, I But it's been with my diet, which is tremendous. And I'm excited about that. You talking trash, Liberty? Singing on Thursday. I started singing Tuesday. You remember I started doing, I don't know if you caught the beginning of Tuesday show. But I got so whenever I see fish eye lenses or whatever they call them, I always think about Missy Elliott. I can't stand the rain. So I started singing that, and then something else I was singing later on, which is crazy. So, but yeah, there is power, and I am worthy, and I deserve. We probably need to emotional intelligence. That's the word I was looking for. But I deserve is tremendous. As like I said, well, not like I said. In the men's group, we watched the video, and they were talking about I deserve as well. And something that kind of stuck with me from that video is the idea of it's your birthright. And when you think about it, some of the things that you deserve is your birthright. Your family, the people who came before you, sacrificed greatly for you to have opportunities to be the greatest. Your ancestors are still rooting for you to be the greatest. And all you have to do is also believe that you deserve it. It's within your birthright. So that birthright thing, stick with me. Especially, I did that 5% of things for for a minute. So birthright and, couple of my friends are sovereign and all types of stuff. So that birthright thing hit deep with me. But we're gonna do you still talking to me? Okay, no. I'm glad you're here though. You got some words. All right, we're gonna do 4 4 4 because that's what I've been doing all week. But you don't recall what a day. Something that I'm proud of is one of the main reasons I changed my diet. And I said, which is funny. I said I'm like 80% vegetarian now. I might eat meat once a week or something like that, if once a week. But one of the things I'm proud of is I did that because last time I went to the doctor, they were concerned about high blood pressure, and they were talking about giving me pills. I'm not taking no pills. I will change my lifestyle. Sometimes it's that simple. It's either you take medication or change your lifestyle. And I don't live this long without medications outside of the allergies. I changed my lifestyle. And I recognize I do have enough discipline for that. And, we all working together to heal ourselves. And a good diet is good for your solar plexus. So, um, I can tell my body detox and everything. It's just been wild. But I also had to get me a blood pressure machine, which is funny because I'm like, yo, we getting old, family. But that one move, well, between that and iron pills, it has definitely helped to balance out my system a lot. A couple more things I need to do for myself. But now my blood pressure is good. Now I do recognize that I've done a ton of work to work on stress. And when you hear information like that, you're like, I ain't gonna worry about it. I'm gonna be different, period. So you do your thing and you make the necessary changes. So I'm proud of that. 80% vegetarian or exercise it is late. And then I can see your comments first, but we'll do that on my count of 3. 1, 2, 4. Hold 4, 2, 3, 4. Release 4, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2, 3, 4. Last time. Breathe in 4, 2, 3, 4. Hold 4, 2. I don't know. I'm kind of sometime on the right things. You will see my name as Culture Freedom, which is the number 4 in math. Freedom, you freedom, and deserve. I deserve. And as you get comfortable with that, I want you to start thinking of things that you know you deserve to complete those sentences. I deserve love. I deserve healing. Deserve wealth. And as you continue saying the words that you deserve, I need you to make sure you fully empower each and every one of those deserves with the power of faith. Say those deserve things. You deserve to live as the best version of yourself. You deserve to know what success is like. You deserve. And as you are thinking, I am divine. I am connected to the universe. I am at peace. I am a spiritual being, divine being. I am connected to the universe. I am at peace. I am a spiritual being. And I release doubt and welcome faith because you deserve. Thanks, Libby. I want to see, let me know. What? Uh-oh. Let me see something. Do. Well, on YouTube, on Facebook, it says the signal was dropped. So I'm going to look on the YouTubes and see if it's the same. Why they time you out, Liberty? That's crazy. And it's funny because you are actually a moderator. Yeah, I see you still here on YouTube, but that's crazy. And YouTube is a lot faster. I don't know what's going on with Facebox. Let me see what's happening. Yeah. Oh, you ain't use no sentences. What was your deleted message? This nigga's trying to give us a hard time. Yeah. It's definitely this camera. And I to use this camera. But I'm going to try to use it without that AI thing next time and see if that helps. Because I can use the camera without the app, but I have to do more work on the settings. So, but we're gonna try that next time, and see if that works. So I don't even remember where we are in the book to even remind you what's going on. Oh shoot, what? Listen, I ain't even know this thing had dark mode. Okay, yeah, his homeboy Bimbo just got shot. His boy Bimbo and Tony after he had just left the corner, so he's still a little edgy about that. Where we at? So, a popular expression in the streets of Cavalier Manor says, "Payback is the mother." Oh yeah, so supposedly, I just thought about it with TikTok. They finally told me why they're not accepting that. They say I got a 30-day suspension, but the ironic thing is, I told you they just want me to use their app. I mean, their TikTok Studio app, not TikTok app itself, but they got a little streaming app too. So they want me to use that. But the only thing that is suspended is my streaming app because I can still use their. I just checked their streaming app and it was just like, hey man, you don't have any suspensions on your account at all. I'm like, so how I don't have any suspensions, but I got suspensions. So they's like, holler at them in 30 days. So we might try 30 days with TikTok, or I'm just gonna keep giving TikTok clips and I might add Kick to it because I do have a Kick page that I haven't used in a while. But yeah, we might have to add Kick to the routine. Anyway, again, a popular expression in the streets of Cavalier Manor says, "Payback is a mother." That's really what war is about. And after the Lincoln Park incident and the shooting attack in our neighborhood, Shell Shock and I were eager to get some get back. One night, we waited until Shell Shock's mother fell asleep, then went out to a Chevrolet Caprice. Oh, we did read this part. And pulled our usual stunt. We released the emergency brake and let the car gently slide. Yeah. Down the slanted driveway into the street. There, Shell Shock produced his extra keys and started the car. I had my 25 automatic fully loaded and ready to go. It was less than 5 miles to Lincoln Park. It wasn't hard to find marks in the compact community of attached brick apartments. There were only about 8 buildings set in the semi courtyard comprised in Lincoln Park. We spotted a crowd of dudes hanging on an apartment porch. Shell Shock drove by slowly, the dimly lit street and angled the car so that the passenger side where I sat faced the porch. When I gave the word, he stopped and turned. He stopped and turned off the lights. I can't remember whether my gun was six. Shell Shock burned rubber out of there, keeping the car lights off so nobody could see the license plate number. I had no idea whether somebody was struck by a bullet. For a few days afterwards, I held my breath, hoping no police cruiser crept up onto my street full of cops bearing an arrest warrant. Relaxed, feeling comfortable there. Headed out on a hot date. As I passed our corner, Shane, Bimbo, and Chip waved me down. Yo, man, Lep just called from a party in Douglas Park. He said some downtown boys are waiting outside to double bank him. After healing from his shooting wounds, Bimbo was back in the circulation and eager to get some get back for himself. We pulled together our arsenal and packed in my stepfather's car and headed toward Douglas Park to rescue our swinging partner. When we got there, we saw that the rumble had already gone down and the party was over. I saw people walking away from the area in groups. Just as I began to drive off, somebody in the car said, Yo, man, be cool. The rollers are scoping us. The police cruiser pulled up behind my stepfather's black Mercury Comet and began trailing us. I got that strange, intuitive feeling I get when something heavy is about to go down. I drove cautiously at the speed limit until the rollers turned on their flashing lights. One by one, they flung the weapons out the passenger side windows into a weedy lot. Eventually, other cop cars joined in the chase and forced me off the road. Police with drawn guns ordered us out of the car, handcuffed us, and loaded us into a waiting paddy wagon. Others using flashlights searched the grassy area and ransacked my stepfather's car. When we got to the That was typical of Shane while the rollers had given us chase. Somebody had been shot only minutes before we had got to the party, and the police, seeing my car loaded with people, considered us suspects. We were cleared by the witness. My step and torn apart. When my mother got there, the detective told her, your son could be facing up to 20 years in prison for possession of a sawed-off shotgun. I figured that was a scare tactic at 17. I was still a juvenile. That they'd recommend lenience. I huddled with the other fellas and said, look, man, all we got to do is give them the names of the mothers we hate. That's what we did. We gave the cops a full list of names and made up all types of guns they supposedly owned. I never found out whether the cops followed up on our between Cavalier Manor and downtown ended with a tragedy ball game at Frank D. Lawrence Stadium. Both sides were out in full force, and when the shooting started, everybody panicked. The scene grew even more chaotic when the rollers showed up and joined in the gun battle. Instinctively, both sides turned and began firing at the police. That's great. I paused long enough to see a downtown guy called Prairie Dog slump to the ground after being struck in the middle of the street. He later died because the country was already dealing with a lot of racial strife. The incident attracted the attention of the Black Panthers, who apparently saw an opportunity to use Prairie Dog's death as a rallying point and a plan that supposedly fires would be set in some places and there would be shootings in others. It was designed to send a political message to the city fathers and the white folks in general. I hated white folks with the carload of downtown guys. It felt refreshing to unite with former enemies against a common foe. We went to shoot up white neighborhoods. We drove to the designated street, stopped the car, fanned out to separate houses, armed with sawed-off shotgun through the sheer curtains and saw adult. Boom! The blast shattered the window as I dashed back to the car. I heard shots fired from my companion's gun and saw lights go out all over the street. We hopped in the car and sped away. I was so scared the next day that I avoided television and newspapers. For a long while after that, I wondered if I'd hit someone with that blast. I wondered what would happen if somebody had been killed and I was caught. As usual, after I was pretty sure, I felt proud of that. For one night, I engaged in urban guerrilla warfare, and I had fought in a real war and contributed to a cause. Chapter 10. Okay, we're good. Okay, good. Chapter 10, work. Of all the guys I hung with, Turkey Buzzard, whose family moved to Cavalier Manor from downtown, had the hippest father. Known around Portsmouth as country, Turkey's old man was so hip that the fellas and I figured that he was a hustler. As far as I could see, the only people in the neighborhood who didn't bow before the white man were preachers and hustlers. I saw a big difference between Turkey old man and the fathers of my other friends and me. They looked bent over and defeated. Country stood tall and proud. They seemed depressed and standoffish. Country often stopped in the den when we were shooting pool and laughing and joked with us. They were always dirty and tired. Country drove Cadillac Eldorados, sported shiny gold tooth, and was always as clean as the board of health. I wasn't sure how Country got his name, but that didn't even matter. All that mattered to me was that he chose not to earn his living slaving at the shipyard or bowing the white folks in some other gig. Turkey had an older brother who was definitely a hustler. He and his friends gave me my first inside look at those black who live and operated almost completely outside of the white man's system. They make money doing business with other blacks and buy almost everything they need, hot appliances, food, jewelry, clothes, from hustlers who sell the merchandise dirt cheap. The only time they interact with white folks is to buy insurance, vote, and pay their bills. The fellas and I spent many evenings shooting pool at Turkey's house. Sometimes other hustlers who made their living on pool tables and crap boards came there to shoot pool. And I stood around and watched. Following his brother's footsteps, Turkey learned all the tricks of street trade. He could shoot pool far better than any of us, And by the time we were 14, he was hell in crap games. We played Tonk and 21 Blackjack. Tonk is funny. And got Turkey to teach us how to mark the cards and do the bait and switch with loaded dice. When hanging on the corner, I tried to imitate the small time hustlers who came to Turkey's house. I walked around constantly shaking dice in my hands, waiting for the next crap game to get underway. I didn't know nearly enough about the hustling life to make a living at it, but it seemed glamorous and appealing enough to want to learn. If my stepfather had anything to say or do about it, there was going to be no hustling, gambling in the streets, or carrying on. Besides the curfews he's imposed on my brothers and me to try to rein us in, he tried keeping us off the streets by constantly giving us work to do. My old man had a serious thing about work. My brothers and I would wake up on Saturday morning and he'd have a long list of things for us to do. Rake the yard, cut the grass, wash the car, clean the gutters, sweep the walk. Through the years, that got on our nerves and tightened the tension already building between him and us. My oldest brother Billy used to complain, work, work, work. All he ever think about is work. As long as I can recall, my stepfather's life was controlled by work. Mama, I know people like that. It was all he'd ever known. He'd grown up in a farm in Midgeville, Georgia, where they did backbreaking labor every day and learned to master with his hand skills that most college educated people never learn. He dropped out of school after the 10th grade, left home to join the Navy, and relied on his strong work ethic to carry him through life. Although I hated him sometimes for trying to work us to death, I marveled at the things he could do. With our help, he converted our garage into a den and paneled the walls. He bricked the entire pathway around the side of the house, making a cobblestone walkway and the patio that led from the front to the back door. He did all his own auto and household repairs. On top of that, he always did part-time work along with his full-time shipyard job. He used to tell me and my brothers, if you work hard, you can get anything you want in life. But my brothers and I didn't see it that way, especially after we started going to Sterling Point with him to work with white people's yards. We saw, they tell you that hard work. Tanned and rested most of the time when he was at home. It seemed that my brothers and I viewed everything in life differently than our old man. We represented two generations of black that had come up in very distinct places and times. In civil rights mode, he less inclined to make a chant, which gave us a whole new look and feeling about ourselves. People had to let their hair grow in the long, thick afros. Defiant activists such as the Muslims and the back songs that urge us to fight and build. African Americans were undergoing a radical change, and ripples from that change filtered into the heads of my brothers and me. We get pissed at our old man for insisting we go there with him to Sterling Point. Only the white folks. Yet, there we were, literally on the overcoming racism. I could tell that race-related pressures at his full-time shipyard job were eating my stepfather up inside. He and his co-workers who had come to the house constantly complained about the whites on the shipyard. And he usually got drunkest on. He bought a little old car, powder blue Renault, that he used to drive to his job. Often when he woke up hungover and late for work, he jumped in his security job uniform like a fireman on the emergency and go speeding out the cul-de-sac headed for the shipyard. The wheelbase of that little car was so narrow, several times my old man turned it over before he got out of Cavalier Manor. Take a rubber hammer, heavy drinkers. The fellas and I called them Oilers because they drank that fire water to loosen their tensions. They slept when they weren't working and drank when they weren't sleeping. They looked downtrodden and were so burdened and preoccupied with white folks that they seldom talked much with their children. One whiskey bottle's father, their father stayed drunk all the time. He'd get drunk and stagger through the streets or fall down and pass out in their own front yard. Bimbo's old man also drank a lot and stumbled around the street sometimes. And Shane's dad would get drunk and go berserk in the house. I never heard my friends say they wanted to be like their fathers when they grew up. Why would we want that when we knew our fathers were catching hell? That would be like them. A two-parent home is no better off than a single-parent one if the father is messed up in the head and beaten down. There is nothing more dangerous than destructive in a household than a frustrated, oppressed black man. Whenever I went job hunting, I literally staked out strips of bid and say they weren't hiring. Usually by the time I got home in the evening, I'd be tired and evil as hell. The times I did nail down work, it was toward the end of the summer when it was nearly time to return to school. I saw that summer job experience for white teenage peers was very different than mine. I saw that whenever I went, whether it was with a friend, they weren't scorching heat. Whenever I saw white kids, mhm, okay, cool. Whenever I saw white kids working in those places, I felt our applicant to me with that pompous air too, like they knew they were supposed to be there and I wasn't. Their attitude right. They had a serious inside track on the best summer gigs in town. When looking for work, many of them had to look no further than their own neighborhoods, where only job contacts our parents had, if they had any contacts at all, were for manual labor jobs. Even then, they would they often weren't in a position to make sure that their kids or other kids in the neighborhoods got the inside track. They needed them jobs themselves. What time is it? All right, good. The summer of 1971, when I was 16, a bricklayer named Mr. Daniels, who attended our family's church, told my parents there were openings for construction helpers on the site where a shopping mall was being built near Cavalier Manor. I went there, applied, got the job, and started work. Almost instantly, I clashed with the white construction supervisor, who I later learned had wanted the helper's job for somebody else. It was my responsibility to go get water and tools for the skilled workers and to supply bricks, mortar, and anything else they needed. I worked hard, but it seemed that nothing I did satisfied my boss, a tall, plump, pale man who hovered over everybody like an overseer. He fussed and cursed at me constantly. When you gonna bring the water, boy? The older black workers knew the supervisor was giving me hell, but they were too scared to say anything to him about it for the fear they might jeopardize their own job. Every now and then, when the supervisor wasn't around, Mr. Daniels whispered encouragement and tried to keep me cool. Young blood, I know he's a tyrant, but don't let him get next to you. Just try to ignore him and do your job. I was tempted to quit after the first week, but I held on. I wanted the money, and I also wanted to demonstrate to my stepfather was wrong about me. He said my mother coddled me, and he argued with her sometimes about the best way to keep me off the streets. He said the boy needs a job, but he don't want to work. He lazy. I suspect he was waiting for me to lose the construction job so he can prove a point to mama. Over the years, his and my relationship had soured to the point where we barely talked directly to each other about anything meaningful. Instead, we vented like that generation just thought being extra hard on your kids was the way. Like, man, being mean to your kids ain't preparing them for the world. Oh, God. Instead, we vented our complaint through mama, who became a referee between the two of us. Working that summer, I felt caught in a vice. I wanted badly to prove with the job that I wasn't scared of work, but it required painful psychic sacrifices to remain employed. It required me to take humiliation daily from a supervisor who seemed to think he'd been a slave master in another life. He'd bark orders at me like we were working in the military. Get over there and take some more bricks to the crew. You got to move faster than that. You act like you got lead in your britches, boy. I'd walk away, mumble to myself, boy, who the hell he calling boy? I'd have slapped that motherfucker upside his head. but I kept my mouth shut and did as I was told. The construction job forced me to develop two personalities that kept me in conflict with myself. Away from work, inside. So you know how to mess with my head in a big way. I wonder what the fellas or anybody who knew me would think if they happened by and saw me taking shit off a white man like that. I never found out because the job didn't last. I lost it soon after my stepfather. I lost it soon after my stepfather, driving a shiny new Cadillac, came to construction site in the evening. Who the hell you think you talking to? I ain't gotta take this from you. That was all an excuse the supervisor needed to fire me. I went home and told my parents what happened. And afterward, I heard through my mother that the problems I had on that job had nothing to do with my wanting to work. It had to do with my refusal to let an arrogant white man humiliate me. Later, Mr. Daniels, the bricklayer who had first or last bad experience I had with working or job hunting, but it was one that turned me off even more on the whole notion of working in the system. After that, I took on the attitude about work that a lot of brothers. My main partner, I tried every nickel and dime hustle I ran across, focusing mainly on stealing. We stole everything that wasn't nailed down, from school books, which we sold at half price, to wallets, which we lifted from guys' rear pockets. We even stole gifts from under the Christmas tree of a girl we visited. She left the room to get something, and we stuffed small gifts in our pants and coats before she returned. One winter night when we went to a house party in a room, hungrily wild, then shell shock left and went back, and I went into the bedroom, closed the door, opened the window, and handed about 30 overcoats to Shell Shock, who loaded them in his mother's car. After we had gotten all the coats, I said goodnight to the host and left. Driving down the highway, we was over. Shell Shock in on alert for opportunities to steal. One night when we were heading to a club in Norfolk, Shell Shock said, "Nate, hold up for a minute." He started checking the car doors in the parking lot. When he found one unlocked, I served as a lookout. While he opened it, reached in and searched inside. He pulled out a key, slipped it in the ignition, and started the car. I hopped in and we drove to leave a key there when they car for about 2 weeks, using it mainly fantastic. We were waiting for the evening to set in. When the temperature cooled and the girls came outside to stroll along the sidewalks, the ice cream man rang his bell and stopped. A half a block from us, excited young children ran outdoors, flailing their arms. Excuse me. When the ice cream man, who was white, got out of the truck, Frog said, "Let's go fuck with him." There was no special plan. We just got up, drifted on over, and studied the scene. The ice cream man, who was busy serving children that he didn't notice us surrounding him. While the fellas stood in the back watching the man, I quietly opened the door and slid in the street, holding popsicles as I cruised down Roosevelt. Truck to my house. My mama got truck to my house. My mama got a big freezer and stuffed them in the breeze on it. Got a big freezer and stuffed them in the breeze on it. We at Boulevard past the crime scene. Just then, a police was surprised when the cop said he needed to ask me some questions. The three of us went inside the house and sat down, joined by my mother. A few hours ago, a woman named Miss Patrick. I haven't been on Roosevelt Boulevard front yard for some time, and I saw him when he came home. He didn't come from Roosevelt Boulevard. He came up the court from the direction of Glenn's house. At first, I was shocked. My stepfather would never cover for me if he knew I had broken the law. Then I realized that he really believed I'd been at Glenn's house. I guess the cop was convinced that my alibi was solid. He told my parents there would be an ongoing investigation and then left. That was the last I heard of it. That heist boosted my rep up in the neighborhood. Everywhere I went, guys said it admiringly. "Yeah, man, I heard you ripped off an ice cream truck." I was proud. Not only that I had proven that I had a heart, but I've gotten over like a fat rat on a white man, and my stepfather had unknowingly helped me pull it off. Oh, that's the end of the chapter. We will pick up next week. So I appreciate your time as always. It's been fantastical, and hope you have a great weekend. Hope to see you next Tuesday. We're going to finish. Did we finish? I don't feel like we finished. Oh no, we still got to figure out how do we address normalized dysfunction. We'll finish that up, and if you can't make it Tuesday, I'll see you Thursday, where we'll continue reading before I let go. Gratitude and peace. I hope you have a great weekend, family.